Calcium is often a concern. The recommended intakes are super high in North America relative to the rest of the world. 700 milligrams for 1 to 3-year-olds, 1,000 for 4 to 8-year-olds, 1,300 for 9 to 18-year-olds. This is a lot. It's almost double what it is in some other countries. Just so you're aware of that. Calcium intakes in plant-based children, well, lacto-ovo-vegetarian children consume as much or more calcium than non-vegetarians, but vegan children or 100% plant-based children often do fall below the RDA for calcium, the American RDA for calcium. So can children actually get, can they meet the RDA without dairy? And the answer is absolutely they can, by including sufficient calcium-rich plant foods and some calcium-fortified foods if they need a little boost. Being aware of factors that can impact calcium absorption is also really important. So what are the calcium-rich plant foods? You know, when you think about our food guides, and not in Canada anymore, but in the States and in most other countries, dairy products are the foods that are highlighted as calcium-rich foods, and not a lot of other foods are included in that category. And so it's important just to become familiar with the calcium-rich foods. And so it's the low oxalate dark greens and tofu that's made with calcium, and the fortified non-dairy milks and beans and tahini and even blackstrap molasses and some of the nuts and seeds. Chia seeds are actually a really good source as well. So there are a number of sources. And one of the things that makes it way easier to meet the American RDAs and Canadian RDAs is to select calcium fortified non-dairy milks and other foods with added calcium. It's so much easier to provide a little 4 to 8-year-old child with 1,000 milligrams of calcium if you're including 1 or 2 servings of fortified non-dairy milk a day, because they have about 300 milligrams per cup. So you've got 300 to 600 milligrams right there. If we look at this, is just a child menu with 1,000 milligrams of calcium to show you what it might look like. And here you have oatmeal and berries, 1 serving of fortified non-dairy milk or a cup of non-dairy milk, a tablespoon of chia seeds, a small whole grain muffin, peanut butter and banana wrap, veggies and cashew dip, a smoothie made with the milk, black beans, quinoa, broccoli, chocolate pudding made with fortified non-dairy milk, and you've got 1,000 milligrams. So that it's pretty simple to do. You want to be very aware of factors that can inhibit or enhance calcium absorption. And things that can have a negative impact are excessive oxalates or phytates. Excessive sodium can cause you to actually urinate out calcium. High acid load alcohol, which isn't a concern, except it can be for adolescents. Caffeine, again, can be for adolescents. And positive impact, of course, vitamin D. You need vitamin D to absorb calcium. Other factors affecting calcium absorption, the amount of calcium consumed at one time. So absorption efficiency decreases as calcium intake increases, which means that if you consume 500 milligrams in one meal, you'll absorb less than if you took that 500 milligrams and spaced it 5 times throughout the day. You would end up absorbing more. So age and stage makes a difference too. Calcium absorption is actually as high as 60% in infants and young children. It's only about 15 to 20% during adulthood, except for pregnancy when it's higher. So children do absorb more calcium than adults. And then we want to consider calcium bioavailability. The dairy industry likes to say that the only bioavailable calcium is in dairy products, but that's not quite true. We absorb about 32 or so % of the calcium from dairy. We absorb about the same from tofu made with calcium. We absorb a little bit less from soy milk, but not a tremendous amount less. It's somewhere around the 25% or so. A little bit less from sweet potatoes and from legumes as well. But we absorb the most calcium from low oxalate greens like broccoli, kale, Chinese greens, turnip greens, mustard greens. We absorb some 40 to 60 or even 70% in some cases of the calcium from these foods. However, we don't absorb a lot of calcium from spinach, beet greens, and Swiss chard, these sort of very high oxalate greens, because the calcium is bound to oxalates and it's not available for absorption. And so these we might get 5% or so of the calcium from. So we really just can't rely on them as good calcium sources.